So I was on YouTube a while back and saw an interesting video that piqued me. Being one of the few rare times the algorithm actually aligns with something that I want and not what it thinks I want, which happens to be videos to cure my balding and fupa because it thinks I'm some 40-year-old gooner on the verge of a bad financial decision. No, the video was titled something 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 covers better than the original by some relatively small channel like me. And for the most part, I didn't disagree because I didn't really know most of the songs that were talked about. But I do remember simultaneously clicking back and forth through other tabs to confirm or vehemently disagree because, you know, I'm a hater. But my inner lurker will never allow me to send out a 5-minute long paragraph that took me 30 minutes to type out when there's a possibility of being ratioed by a TLDR or minor spelling error. But ultimately, the video generated an interesting enough discussion, one I honestly really didn't know I had any real opinion on. And since I'm nothing if not creatively bankrupt, here we are today. And weirdly enough, later that same day, I actually saw a post on Reddit, and it kind of kept up the same idea, covers that are better than the original. Seeing this as a second chance from the universe, of course I had to post my thoughts. Now, some of you might say, what makes it different than commenting under a YouTube post? And that's a really good question. The difference exists in that this is Reddit. No one genuinely gives a fuck about what you have to say because you are on Reddit. Ultimately, my comment got no traction and even a downvote. But I've since come to grips over that devastating rejection and remember, hey, I'm a YouTuber with a niche crowd who will nurture and reassure my every opinion. So I'm better than that Redditor. But that was not enough, so I had to go find that guy, and right before I gunned him down, he said, "Please, what is this about?" And after I gave him context behind my actions, he said, "Oh yeah, because who the hell are tree people?" Honestly, terrible last words, but it nonetheless inspired me to create this video. So thank you /Forgotten Biscuits. Your life was not in vain. So what does Chris think? I know is the question on everyone's mind, and that's simple. There exists a wide variety of music, and covers just so happen to be another form. Not being one who's overly observant, I just tend to assume that most artists just have a greater interest to pursue and uplift their own creativity, that being creating new sounds and new things that they can rightfully call their own. That probably says more about me than the actual artists themselves, because there exist tons of covers, indies doing mainstream doing indies, and my personal favorite, a new take on an old classic. Well, classic in big quotation marks in most cases. But my overall opinions, surprise, happen to be pretty negative. Because at best, it uplifts the overall sentiment around a song, giving it new depth and perspective, all while bringing it to a new audience that probably wouldn't have looked at it otherwise. And at worst, it can do or add very little to what was already established originally, or even worse, become lesser and an unnecessary addition. So today, instead of doing my usual shtick of, you know, picking an album to gush out over for like 15 to 25 minutes, I decided to lay out 10, or in all actuality 10 covers that have festered in my mind since initially seeing that YouTube video. But before we actually get into that, I feel like fucking 2010s top 10 songs that you're like number 1. Like, bro. But like, before we get into it officially, I just want to lay down some criteria. Nothing too complex, and like all things in these videos, this is just how I see it. But I feel like this, in some shape or form, is a part of everyone's gold standard, at least on this specific subject.
Number 1.
Makes you want to listen to it over the original. Pretty self-explanatory. Does this song make you want to listen to it over the original? I feel like this is like the biggest one. Honestly, you can take the other two and shove it up your ass, because this one is probably like what makes or break a good cover. Or at least to me, like, do I want to listen to this song or the original? And if you find yourself saying yes more times than no, you have your answer.
Number 2.
It doesn't have to be the exact same. New takes and liberties are allowed, because some people will discredit a song as to not give props to the artist for being a better rendition of the song. This goes out to like the weirdly protective people over certain bands that are going to be covered here. Stay tuned.
Number 3.
How did they expand on the original? Because ultimately a good cover expands upon the original. I mean, not always. Sometimes it could just be like pipes in the kitchen bashing on shit. Go full, what's that Broadway musical? Stomp, yeah. Only reason why I know about it is because of American Dad. Good morning, USA.
Number 1.
Look, I already hear the ghost of David Bowie and the 0.3% of my user base who seem to be 50 years old clearing their throat in theatrical protest, but well, maybe. Anyways, this isn't blasphemy, it's a resurrection. Because this isn't a cover and let me do this song justice kind of way. This is a collaboration across timelines. Like some weird time traveling / musical midwife scenario. I think I would be hard pressed to find anyone saying their original is their favorite song of all time, let alone Bowie's. Bowie stans can be a weird bunch, but I feel I can give nods to this since Bowie literally was alive for this cover, and it was all for goddamn Shrek 2. Let that sink in. I kind of take solace in the fact that I can't listen to the song without seeing Shrek's face, because for some godforsaken reason, the soundtrack version is the only version available anywhere. This is 2004 when Butterfly Boucher, I think I said the name right, an Australian singer whose only notable moment is this cover, not dissing. Shrek 2 is a fucking masterpiece. Ask your local millennial. She dropped this version as part of the film's soundtrack, and what she does is take the old choppy song of Changes, wrap it in this ethereal indie tweed glaze, and then Bowie just shows up near the end like a benevolent ghost to bless the whole goddamn thing. And it works. It strips away the bouncy and admittedly woeful cabaret bravado of the original and replaces it with this melancholic beauty, revamped with this silky Y2K pop sound, and Butterfly's delivery is ghostly, like she's halfway between sleep paralysis and Earth, and Bowie's echoey vocals toward the end feels like he's signing off on his own legacy. Honestly, hits harder than it really should.
Number 2.
Alkaline Trio, the cool, definitely depressed, older white chick band, at least that's how I know them, covered Exploding Boy back in the early 2000s. And while The Cure's original is a delightful slice of a post-punk smoothie, this one slaps on eyeliner, loses the wonky vocals, and throws the synths in the blender. Releasing as a part of Pocket Bomb, a compilation album full of post-punk and post-hardcore bands that I really recommend, it's heavier, faster, less about swirling atmosphere and more about running into traffic with a smirk. And that's not to knock The Cure, because duh, The Cure basically made music for dead goths who never finished their diary entries. But Alkaline Trio's version gives it teeth and goes, oh, I'm sad, but I'm sad with a vendetta. Out of any vocalist like ever, I'm more forgiving of Robert Smith for some weird reason. I think it's like attachment to like the culture, but whatever. And with that being said, his vocals can be at times unmatched for both positive and very negative reasons. And at others, it's just shrill and loose, kind of like your mom at Arby's. Exploding Boy represents the latter of this the most. No doubt, The Cure's version is atmospherically superior, and I won't argue that. But Matt Skiba, whatever you want to have, and company adds an intensity to the vocals that were desperately needed to the original. The shift in tempo and the addition of backing vocals did wonders. They turned a dreamy swoon fest into an actual fleshed out track you can scream out while you're driving 70 in a 40. That's an upgrade, folks.
Number 3.
No, this one might get me murdered in the comments because saying someone improved on the Smiths is like saying gun regulations to an American. But TREEPEOPLE, aka Doug Marsh, before he was fully built to spill out, took Big Mouth Strikes Again and turned it from Morrissey's passive-aggressive whinefest into a slacker rock meltdown. Recorded and released on their second album, Something Viscous for Tomorrow. It either released with little fanfare or a little fanfare as far as I'm aware, because it gets absolutely buried whenever you look for covers of this song. The fucking Placebo version pops up before this, and while that's not a bad cover in and of itself, it's not the subject of the video because it's fucking awful. Fuck you. The original was all jangly and smug, Morrissey doing his usual I'm the victim but I'm also better than you shtick, with Johnny Marr throwing around guitar flourishes like sprinkles on a sad cupcake. But TREEPEOPLE, these dudes crack open the guitar, tone is muddy and unfiltered, like it was recording during an earthquake inside of a Goodwill bathroom. Doug sounds like he actually snapped, not literally snapped, like yelled at his boss, and is a calm down away from committing a Virginia Tech or a Columbine, but like he just stubbed his toe type of thing. Albeit a little lo-fi and not as squeaky as the original, its speed and vocal clarity more than makes up for it. Something it has over not only the original but other covers is that it's not trying to sound like the original, or more specifically Morrissey. From every cover I've ever heard of this song, specifically Big Mouth Strikes Again, everyone's following the same pattern as Morrissey, at least vocally. He sounds like a dude singing Carry the Zero because, well, he he is that fucking guy. And there's something a little cathartic about hearing this track without the pretentious British chrome. Tree People having the kind of DIY aggression that screams recorded with a $40 and borrowed amp. And I adore it. Morrissey will probably hate it, which is another point in its favor.
Number 4.
I can hear some Beatles fans typing with shaking hands. Actually, the harmonies in the mono mix. Shut up. I don't care. Shut up. Look, the Beatles made great music, but not every track was the second coming of fucking Sergeant Jesus. And Got to Get You Into My Life is one of those that feels like Paul just farted out a horn section and ran with it. It's fine, it's cute, it's Beatlesy, but Earth, Wind & Fire, they took the song Behind the Shed, taught it how to dance, gave it a perm, and a problematic tan. And along with it, brought it to the disco funk promised land. The 1978 version is slick, alive, and dripping with confidence, where the Beatles have this groove-adjacent energy. Earth, Wind & Fire pulled the song into a full-body motion. It struts, it shimmers, it glows like a lava lamp filled with cum or sex appeal, whichever. The horns just don't beat politely, they blast you in the chest like a funkadelic SWAT team, and the vocals, as always, soars. It's church, it's roller rinks, it's sweaty and polyester. Also, this cover got nominated for a Grammy. I don't really care. And you know, I know something like this is the fucking post-hardcore weird niche indie dude. Why is it? It's because if I didn't mention this in the video about covers, my father would disown me. So you have to support this. Bye.
Number 5.
Getting back on track, another Cure one because I am nothing if not predictably emotionally unwell. The Get Up Kids cover of Close to Me, it's like someone took a fluid cover fantasy diary and made it into reality. The original is jittery and kind of claustrophobic, like it actually feels like he's in like a box or some shit. That's what I mean, like Robert Smith being Robert Smith. It's all anxious and wrapped in synths, but the Get Up Kids, especially in the era of Eudora and On the Wire, are suburban angst distilled into punchy pop punk. Just listen to Breathing Method. This version doesn't just reinterpret Close to Me, it yanks it into 2001, shoves it in a VCR, and makes you feel something for a Converse's wearing ex who didn't believe in deodorant. The drums hit harder, the vocals are scratchier, it's Strain or the Matt Pryor special. It's not better because it's more technical, it's better because it feels like a breakdown in someone's parents' garage, and that's always gonna hit different.
Number 6.
This one is for people who still think emo means sad kids in tight jeans who smell like Hot Topic incense, but no. Sometimes emo is existential combustion wrapped in distortion. Firestarter by The Prodigy is iconic if that's your style. It's digital anarchy. It sounds like what happens when a sentient radio starts a revolution, but Jimmy Eat World, yes, the Sweetness dudes, covered this song, and instead of trying to match the chaotic electronica, they went full raw dog rock, which is a term I should probably not make a thing. Gone are the break beats and Keith Flint's gremlin energy. Instead, Jimmy Eat World dropped in like, what if this was just straight up alt rock with a death wish? It's stripped, menacing. It's like the song got sucked into a vacuum of malaise and came out a slow burn, terrifying. Feelings of like long stretches on an empty highway at 2 a.m. or accidentally staring in a mirror too long comes to mind when I hear this song. It really wouldn't feel out of place to a psychological coming of age movie directed by Darren Aronofsky, you know? Or maybe, since he probably wouldn't use that, but either way. It's distinctive, it dismantles the original and flips the perspective. It's reimagining. The fact that they took a rave riot anthem with the vibe of a dude who commits mass Rufinol attacks into an anxiety spiral that builds and builds until you realize you're clenching your jaw. Respect. Also, shout out to Jimmy Eat World for kind of being like the most can do anything band. I'm not only saying that because like I'm like really, you know, deep into their discography right now. Stay tuned for the Clarity video. But yeah, it was a nice surprise.
Number 7.
This one's a tie because both versions feel like different flavors of a slightly sad dream, and both make Neil Young sound like he left the house and came back to find someone had painted his song in cooler colors. First up, Ida, the gentle indie folk whisper of a band. 15 years before the 2010s gave rise to the boom, hey, there's a fire in our, you know the fucking meme, and forever meme that sound for me. They seem to make music that feels like it's hugging you from behind in a flannel blanket. Their version of Everybody Knows turns it into a lullaby for people who drink tea that tastes like bark and bird shit. It's ghostly but warm, like looking into your childhood home through fogged up window. Then there's the Red Hot Chili Peppers doing it in 1993 for the Bridge School benefit performance. This coming from their Blood Sugar Sex Magic era. meaning they were still little funky chaos goblins, but the acoustic setting reined them in. It's loose, jammy, and Anthony Kiedis does his best serious voice, which still sounds like a himbo reading slam poetry, but it works here. What I like most is that both covers dissolve the cowboy swagger of Neil's original and makes it more meditative. Less in I'm leaving this town and more I've already left and I regret nothing and everything. Bonus points for Ida for making me not feel like I'm about to buy a semen and whiskey covered motorcycle jacket.
Number 8.
So like, here's the thing. I didn't ask for Gwen Stefani, aka Ska Princess turned anime MILF on a revenge arc covering It's My Life by Talk Talk. Like, why? Why would you do that? Why wake the corpse of a synth pop band from the dead? And then I listened and I was like, oh, it's kind of like sacrilege of me, the underground post-hardcore martyr trademark, to place it here or even give it recognition. But I can't help it, it's hood. This covers what happens when you take existential British sad boy music and feed it into a girl who wore braces and fishnets at the same time. Gwen Stefani doesn't sing this track. She threatens it. Her voice, all honey and venom. Like she just keyed your car and she's crying about it. And so now you feel sad, like mental issues, but whatever. And while the original had this detached smoking in a trench coat while watching your reflection die in a puddle energy, this one is like drama class. Final scene, Gwen in velvet dress, lipstick slightly smudged, staring dead eye in the mirror before stabbing it. And it's camp, it's rage, it works. Instrumentally, it's tight, cleaner than it has any right to be, honestly. The drums pop, the synths are still there, and they're simmering under the ska light. And that classic, no doubt, we're not a ska band, but we still might have a trumpet hidden somewhere vibe. Like they're trying to sound mature, but still wearing bondage pants to church. The best part has to be Gwen's vocals. Every syllable sounds like she's this close to spiraling. She's not singing It's My Life, she's reclaiming custody of it. There's a sharpness in her tone, like she's imagining her ex-new girlfriend choking on a Starbucks cake pop. She doesn't, and look, I've said it before, I don't really have a strong opinion on covers. But I said all of that to ultimately say it's kind of not better than the original. Okay, I know that defeats the whole purpose of it being on the list, but hear me out, it doesn't really have as much going on for it. Like I said, there's versatility in the original by Talk Talk. This version feels very processed and made to feel good, and it hits that note perfectly. But I thought again, and it's like, it's kind of not trying to be like the original. It's like it's cosplaying trauma and somehow makes it fashion.
Number 9.
This one is a personal favorite because there is something hilarious and perfect about the DC mathy post-punk weirdo band covering a 1998 top 40 white girl anthem and somehow making it work. Jennifer Page's Crush is one of those songs that existed exclusively in malls and in the backseat of someone's mid-30s single aunt with a Rachel cut in a Toyota Corolla. It's smooth, sugary, and has the same energy as sipping a Diet Coke through a bendy straw in a shopping plaza. It's good. As far as processed cheese music, sure, nostalgic even, yeah, but the Dismemberment Plan said, let's give this thing depth and sadness and the sound of falling apart while holding hands. Their cover slows it way down. It's practically anti-pop. Everything is slightly off kilter. The rhythm's loose, the synths drip like a leaky faucet, and Travis Morrison sounds like he's reading the lyrics off a napkin he found in his soon-to-be ex's kitchen. And that's the magic. Along with his usual shtick of saying every word 5 seconds too fast and 4 seconds too slow being all but absent from this track, it adds a layer of eeriness and unease. It takes a heavily pop process and flirtatious banger and reframes it as something aching and anxious, like the feeling when you realize your crush doesn't like you back, but you still see them every day. It doesn't really do much in terms of changing any lyrics, but the way it's presented completely flips the viewpoint on its head. This is what a good cover does. It doesn't just copy, it recontextualizes it. Chef's kiss. Mwah. A sad chef who's possibly putting something in the soup, but a kiss nonetheless.
Bonus tangent.
I honestly didn't know where to put this or even if I should mention my opinion on this because the consensus seems to be all universal around this song. That they're both good, but Johnny gets the edge. But let's just say it, Johnny Cash version isn't better. It's sadder, it's crueler, it's iconic. It's a final breath of a dying outlaw on the porch of memory. But the 9 Inch Nails version hurts in a different way. It's visceral, cold, and it's more mental erosion than physical deterioration. It's like a digital despair, but most importantly, a cautionary warning. Cash undeniably made it human, but Trent Reznor made it inescapable because you're bound to failure regardless of any actions. and that's what it means to be human. It's not a contest, it's a timeline split. Both are masterpieces, no doubt, but don't pretend one erases the other. That's not to say anyone has, but let's be clear, one's a funeral, the other's a breakdown with the corresponding light show that leaves you staring into a dark reflection that happens to be the clearest you'll ever see yourself.
Number 10.
So first off, I need to say it. Elvis Costello gets way too much credit for being the smartest punk in the room, trademark. Like, yeah bro, your glasses are thick and your hairline runs like a scared raccoon, but chill. The original song, written by Nick Lowe, is very much in the clever British man sneers at you with melody tradition. Costello made it more well known, sure, but the Cymbals, they made it flow. Initially hearing this song from a certain evil redhead jester, Costello's goofy odd vocals felt like auditory waterboarding, but, and I hate to admit this, it grew on me. Not because I liked it, but because it burrowed itself in my fucking brain like a little petty parasite. Eventually I found myself vibing with it out of like sheer exposure therapy. Until I heard the sweet siren call, or more accurately, the sonic bubble bath crone of Soko Toki. That's when it all clicked. But let's take a step back. Who are the Cymbals? And they're quite possibly a candidate for the greatest Shibuya Kei band of all time, at least as long as I'm alive and gatekeep. For those unfamiliar, Shibuya Kei was the freakishly stylish Japanese genre collision of lounge, bossa nova, French pop, mod aesthetics, base-age bachelor pad vibes, and the occasional burst of synth that sounds like a phone line melting. It's like someone spliced Yoko Kanano's brain with a mall directory and gave it a major in music theory. And the Cymbals, they were the cleanest execution of it all. Think airy vocals, retro-futuristic optimism, plastic utopia of melancholy, and their version of this song encapsulates all of that. It's a lot more grounded than a lot of their other work, sure, but it still shimmers, like drinking carbonated fruit juice in a city designed by robots who love to collect vinyl. It's sunshine music, but with a space laser tucked at the hem. You don't walk to this track, you glide. And maybe cry a little while holding a shopping bag full of obscure snacks, where Lowe and Costello approached the song with this like almost sardonic, raised eyebrow defiance. Cymbals said, nah, let's make this feel like the end credits to a dream you don't want to wake up from. It's not weighted down by snark, it's not trying to be clever, it's sincere. It makes you feel like you actually believe in peace, love, and understanding. And maybe that's a little corny, but sometimes being corny absolutely hits. The fact that this cover even exists in a genre that's known for and being based around consumeristic ideas like music that plays while you shop for overpriced vinyl toys or Tupperware for your mid-century modern design home. The retro-futuristic aesthetic envelops not only the song but the band, which just makes it even more endearing. That, and I love Toki's whoos over E to the C, climaxing in my ear as he simultaneously stubs his toe. It's an overlooked gem, one that deserves its flowers, even if they're fake and possibly made from a lead-based paint, but I could gush over it for hours. That's the list. That's all I got for now. Au revoir. Bye-bye. There's honestly definitely more. Too many to count, honestly. That being covers, they're starting to bleed into my dreams. I legitimately, I thought I fucking heard a cover of Love Fool by a band that doesn't exist last night, and I haven't slept since. But seriously, and sure, maybe you think I missed something. Maybe you're crafting your reply in the notes app right now about how some unreleased shoegaze cover from 2011 completely changed your life, and that I don't get it. Maybe you're right, maybe I don't. Maybe I'll do this again, or maybe I'll disappear again. Hopefully not. But if I do, just know there are more and way more covers that heal, covers that make you want to dance, cry, and possibly come a little in the parking lot of a Rite Aid at 2 a.m. So until next time, take care of your ears. Bye-bye.